Welcome to the real Ramblers movie talk for fanatics. The real Ramblers movie talk for fanatics. And now your hosts, Bill and Lee Howard.
Hello and welcome to the Real Ramblers. I am Bill. This is my brother Lee.
Heyo.
What was that? Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon.
Yeah,
So all the kids out there are like, who?
Yeah, they're like, they know Ed.
It's a big cult favorite among kids nowadays.
Yeah, they love Ed and Sally Jesse Raphael. They love her.
God, Geraldo.
Yeah,
I see kids all the time at my daughter's school with Geraldo t-shirts.
That's too bad. He's
all
a real.
the time.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, anyway. So today, folks, we're going to discuss the popularity. I was going to say the resurgence, but I don't know if it's a resurgence.
I don't know
because it's been so prolonged of the horror genre.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Horror was big in the 50s with the bomb scares.
Yeah, I was going to say like the
nuclear age.
Yeah.
And then kind of disappeared for a while. 70s, it became kind of more realistic horror with Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, things like that. The 80s became like an epoch of horror, which is odd because it was also a decade of extreme censorship.
Yeah.
So it's so weird that the one genre that would be censored became popular.
I think also because that's when home video became a big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that was definitely the main thing behind it.
Yeah.
But it is funny that like I remember going to Blockbuster to get a video and it would be like so edited down.
I can't believe I didn't know that as I was like renting stuff from Blockbuster that like at the time that they edited their movies.
Were altered.
I found out later on and I'm like, oh, fuck you. I'm glad you went out of business.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking the other day how strange it is that I was looking at my Blu-ray 4K collection and I have like an entire shelf now of Dario Argento movies.
Oh,
and many of them are 4K special editions that look gorgeous and have hours and hours of supplementary features. And I'm like, I remember begging the manager of Blockbuster to sell me a copy of Tenebrae.
Oh, wow.
Even though it was insanely heavily cut and all the gore was
so crazy.
But you couldn't get Dario Argento movies. They were impossible to find a copy of.
Huh.
And it's just so weird looking back now and being like, I loved him so much as a filmmaker back then and couldn't get anything. And then here I am.
You weren't even seeing the full version of his shit anyways.
But even edited aside, now it's 2023 and I have these like gorgeous prints of movies that look better than they did when they showed in theaters. And it's just crazy that that's where we've come. So yeah, 80s was the big decade for horror, established all the big franchises.
Yeah.
But then near the end of the 80s, and then
it started to kind of peter out a little bit.
Yeah, and then horror became very neutered in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was all teen stuff. It was all no gore.
Yeah.
And by the book and predictable and frankly stupid and boring.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of like it's funny. It is very like stages. Of like monsters,
popularity.
And just we were just saying before we started that Scream in the 90s really started to bring horror back, but
it was a big kickstart.
Yeah, it was, and then but like a lot of the stuff that was coming out was not teen horror, but kind of, for
sure. Early 90s.
I know you did
what
last
year
summer.
Was
Scream. Oh God. Oh shit. 96.
I was thinking 94.
Siri,
anyway.
What year did Scream come out? 96.
Okay, 96. Okay.
Okay, so I guess that was later. Yeah, so
never
early 90s.
doubt my movie brain.
Said Sly Stallone, apparently.
Yeah.
You never doubt your movie brain.
But yeah, Scream really reinvigorated the genre and people's interest in the genre.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the 90s, it still didn't... There was more horror hits, but it still wasn't coming back strong in terms of quality.
Yeah, it was a lot of like... probably studios being specifically like Scream was really big, let's do that. So then it's like you had your I know you did last summer, like disturbing behavior, and The Faculty, and a lot of movies like that. Valentine, you know what I mean? Like a lot of just kind of movies that are sort of similar, and
But then we get into the 2000s, and suddenly, like in the last 20 years, horror has gained a new respect. I think studios started realizing it just occurred to me now that I think what turned the tide for studios was the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yes.
Right?
What was that, 99 or something?
Yeah, I think so. Because the studios then realized, oh, wait a minute, we can make a movie for almost no money, bring in tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And they were like suddenly interested in investing in horror.
Yeah.
I think that movie was a big kickoff point.
Oh my God, yeah.
Back. And the funny thing was, being a diehard horror fan for the past 20 years, every year I keep expecting it to nosedive again.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't.
Just kind of evolves, and it's like now there's like folk horror kind of, which I love.
Yeah, like you got, so directors like Ari Aster and Mike Flanagan, Robert Eggers, Jordan Peele, James Wan, Guillermo del Toro. James Wan and del Toro in particular are guys who direct their own horror movies, but they mentor tons of other up-and-comings to make their movies, and they're like ambassadors to, I met Mick Garris once.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him that I always thought of him as horror's ambassador.
Yeah.
And he thought that was great. He thought that was a great title. Because he's a guy who, like, nurtures it in other people and is a cheerleader for other people in horror. And I think that James Wan and Del Toro are they're like the current equivalents to Mick Garris, that they're cheerleaders for it, and they want to see horror evolve and get more popular and become respected. And it's great, and it's working. There's been, won't go into the philosophical part of it, but there's always been the need for horror that it's like a lot of non-horror people are always like, oh my God, how can you watch that stuff? Right? Like ever since, especially in the 80s.
Oh my God,
everybody was always like, how can you watch that
stuff? They demonized it so much.
Yeah, even especially in high school, right? There was when we were in school, there would always be other students that would be like, how can you watch that crap?
Oh, yeah. You were the weirdo for horror.
For sure.
Horror.
Yeah. But it's therapeutic. And there's been studies about this, that horror is healthy to watch. That it's, when the world is caving in around you and you see all these horrible things happening in the world, which unfortunately there's so much of even today.
Oh, brother.
That it's an outlet.
Yeah.
It lets you safely experience it.
Yeah.
So that's part of it too. I also think that horror now crosses boundaries in terms of genres, that they can be funny, like the current Renfield.
Oh, that was great. We just saw that recently.
Yeah,
me
too.
So fun.
So much better than it had any right to be.
Totally. Because it's bloodier than I assumed it would be.
Yeah, really bloody.
Yeah.
And damn funny and smart.
Yeah.
And
I loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah, it was great. Other Warm Bodies, and like they brought a lot of comedy into it, but they also kind of blur the line between horror and thriller a lot now.
Yeah,
which is smart because it brings in more audience.
It's a funny thing that I don't know if it's just critics or whatever, but it's almost like a weird thing where critics, let's say, almost don't want to call certain horror movies like a horror movie, because it's like it's kind of got that stink on it, like it's just a horror movie, like
that's been a thing.
Hereditary, forever. It's like, well, it's a thriller. It's like that's a straight up fucking horror movie. Are you kidding me? But for this weird sake of like
thrillers have women wire
sawing off their own head. Yeah,
it's a horror movie.
It's oh my God, horror.
Ever since stuff like when Silence of the Lambs was up for all the Oscars.
Yeah,
that's what everybody was like. It's a thriller. That's why it's up for Oscars.
Just admit it's a horror, and it's like it's funny. Horror is great in that on a podcast, I always talk about other podcasts.
Here he goes again.
On the Movie Crypt podcast with Adam Green and Joe Lynch.
Good guys.
Totally. Also, a bunch of their movies I could have put in underrated gems. You see Mayhem? Mayhem is amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
Stevie Young.
Yeah. Anyway, Adam was saying that the thing, like horror doesn't get the credit it deserves because horror has every genre in it. You know what I mean? Like one horror movie can have like really funny moments. It can have really dramatic moments. It can have really sad things. Obviously, romance and like really scary shit. Whereas a comedy, just a comedy is a comedy. Just a fucking like rom-com.
Yeah,
it's just a rom-com. Nobody's getting their head sawed off in a rom-com.
Right.
Unfortunate. And but horror has everything.
Yeah.
So it's and weirdly it gets kind of like
often is full of allegory. So
absolutely.
There's also that you can take other stuff out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For what it represents.
It's so weird that it is kind of like looked down upon as just a it's just a horror movie. Like,
And I think that's been since the birth of horror.
sure.
It's been looked at like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's changed, especially maybe in the past 15 years, that now you're getting filmmakers like those ones I mentioned, like Jordan Peele, like Ari Aster.
Hello, Jordan
And-
Peele. I
yeah.
think he's such an awesome new voice in horror.
Yeah. And I think it's because of filmmakers like them that horror is really finally starting to get a legitimacy.
Yeah.
Because I give it maybe 5 more years and you're going to start to see some of these guys up for Oscars. and
Sure.
stuff.
Totally.
I can't see it not happening.
I still do not, and I know everyone says this, but how did Toni Collette not get nominated for her Hereditary? Like that,
One of the
is
greatest performances.
shocking.
Yeah.
Like she's so. I love that movie, but I feel like I can only watch that once in a while because it's so like
can watch it every
emotionally draining.
I can watch it every day.
Oh, I love. I don't know. It drains
I find
me.
something
it's
different in
heavy.
every frame. It's
Yeah, I love it for that. Like
Yeah.
I'm blown away by how it looks, the creativity of it, the performances, like everything about it. I love so much, but
And
it's
I
like
heard the son,
it's like
was
heavy
the son, was that Nate Wolf? Is that his name?
from the Jumanji movies.
Yeah.
he's-
I don't think people give him enough credit in Hereditary.
He's great. He's
He
so
was
good. He broke his
unbelievable.
nose on purpose by smashing it on the desk. He actually did that.
Really?
Yes, he actually smashed his face.
not know that.
Like, holy shit, that is commitment. And that little girl actually took her head off. That's untrue. That's untrue. That
Folks,
part,
that
okay.
is not true.
I
Please
made that part
do
up.
not. I was going to say write letters.
Yeah, please. If you want, you can write letters.
There's
We're
like
not giving you an address.
There's like somebody out there that's 20 that heard that. And they're like, did he just say write letters? How
Yeah.
old is this guy?
Direct them to the Real Ramblers at the North Pole. Postal code XOXO. X ho ho. No, HOHO, not XO.
1138.
Weird.
Yeah, but there's got to be more nominated. Not that I care about
It's yeah.
award shows, but it's the recognition that it deserves, that the horror genre deserves, when you've got master filmmakers like these guys
Absolutely,
making
yeah.
these movies that are like so like Midsummer is
Oh my god.
is
My fave.
Yeah, it's hypnotic and it's technically brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like I said, I give it 5 years, 5 more years.
Yeah.
When all these guys, because they've all got a handful of films under their belts right now, Aster Flanagan and Jordan Peele, Robert Eggers. Once they get into a few more in their catalog, I don't think people are going to have a choice. There's just going to be, you can't ignore art for that long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
totally.
I think that's going to happen. But as for the future of horror, I'm not sure.
Yeah, like where's it going to go from here? What's the next step?
Yeah, there seems to be. The other funny thing about horror is there's always many lanes going on at the same time, because we're getting all these artistic directors like those guys I mentioned doing these artistic horror movies. And at the same time, what else is breaking records in the box office? Terrifier 2.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A movie that is just a balls out gore fest.
It's bananas.
Like nothing we've seen since 1985.
Yeah.
And I expected to not like those movies at all.
Right.
I saw clips and I was like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
come on. And then I watched them and I was like, okay, these are really good. Like they're so fun,
Yeah.
but they're not, it's hard to describe. They're cheesy, but there's a high quality underlying in them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to put into words. But anyway, it's amazing that I never thought a movie that was that gory.
Yeah.
Like in Terrified, did you see them?
I saw the first Terrifier, and I think the first time I saw it, at the time, I thought it was just kind of so-so. I was like, I feel like it's, gore for the sake of it, kind of. And it's like, I didn't know if
That's what I thought they would be. And I think it helps that I saw 2 first.
Oh, probably, yeah. So, yeah, just at the time, I was like, I don't know, it's maybe just excessive for the sake of excessiveness or something. But then I saw part 2, and I was like, I loved it. I loved part 2. It was so
and it's
fun.
even more excessive.
It is,
like
but
the
it's
one
like
scene that's famous of him. It's what, like a 12-minute scene of him killing that one girl.
Oh my, yes,
it goes on forever. The stuff he does to her is just like
it's
what
so
the hell?
It becomes like a Looney Tunes almost.
Yeah.
Like it's so over the top and
Yeah.
cartoonishly gory.
Yeah.
That like I appreciate it more now. It's funny how movies are like that, and I think with a lot of horror movies are like that. Like, did you ever see Mandy?
Yes.
And what were your thoughts on Mandy?
Didn't care for it.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
It was a really
That's a maybe I don't know if
movie.
we have an episode coming up in the future where it's like movies that you didn't like at first, but maybe later.
Yeah.
And because I got a couple kind of like that,
Me too.
but we can kind of talk about it right now because it's horror.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. But yeah, Mandy, it's funny. The first time I watched it, I was like, I don't think I like this. I feel like, oh, it's trying to be too artsy and seems a little.
Yeah.
It's just like, look at the crazy colors and too artsy, fartsy, da 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 da. And I thought it was, what's the word I'm
You
trying
know
to
what
think
pissed
of?
me off is he gets that crazy axe and then he like barely used it.
Oh, right. Right.
I was like, why aren't you using it? Anyway, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the word where it's like artsy fartsy, like.
That's the word.
Well, yeah.
Artsy
There's
fartsy.
another word I'm trying to think of, but I can't.
Like
think of
highbrow?
my brain. Something I don't know. But
We'll figure it out, folks. We'll
yeah, we'll get back to you. Write a letter and tell me what. Send it. And tell me what that word is I'm looking for. There was a friend on Facebook, I think, who was talking about it. He had mentioned that like a lot of people are saying that it was too whatever that word is. I can't think. I think it starts with a P. I don't know. Doesn't matter. There's consonants and vowels in it. Pretentious. Thank you. Holy fuck.
Way to go,
Pretentious.
Jay.
Thank
Ladies
you,
and
thank
gentlemen,
you.
Jay.
Just save yourself the money of a stamp. Don't send that letter. And Jay figured it out.
Yeah.
Pretentious. And I thought it felt pretentious.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's a movie with a cheese goblin in it. Like there was that commercial with the cheese is barfing macaroni and cheese everywhere. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's true. And I'm like, and then it kind of like clicked and I kind of got it, you know? I still don't know how much I don't know if I'll rewatch it,
Yeah.
but I kind of appreciated it more
Right.
now. And there's another movie, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it before. I don't even know if you've seen it yet. And it's a very, very divisive movie. Do you think you know where I'm going with this? Oh, Skinamarink.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing. Have you heard of this or seen it? It's more like an art piece, like a 90-minute art piece.
It's can I get closer to the microphone here? Garbage.
Remember, it didn't work for me. That's what we say.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
so
Garbage.
It's,
For me.
for Bill. It's like if you watch 10 minutes of it, you will understand that that's what the rest of the
Jay,
movie
let
is.
me tell you, it's a camera filming a ceiling, and then a camera filming a floor, and then a camera filming a wall, and then a camera filming the ceiling again.
Yeah.
No people.
There's kids in it, but you never see them.
No.
I'll never watch this movie.
So the basic premise is like on paper, the premise is really scary where it's like two kids wake up.
Yeah.
Their parents are gone and the house has no more doors or windows.
Yeah.
Scary.
Amazing.
So I watch it, but I had to fast forward through it because it was just like, so there's no music, there's nothing, but I have an appreciation for it now. I don't know even still if I like it, but because I like to listen to other people's reviews on it and opinions on it to just kind of like, you know, did I miss something or whatever? And like a lot
I appreciate the effort. I don't appreciate the movie.
I was like, I feel like if it was a 15-minute short, it would be more effective. And it was based on like a 30-minute short. It's the same thing. But a lot of people were like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't get that.
And there's a part of me that I'm like, the movie it gave me a feeling of when I was like a little kid in my room and I would like wake up in the middle of the night and say the TV was still on, but you know, it was fuzzy because everybody, when we were kids, the TV stopped at midnight and it just went to fuzz.
Now I wish I could do the Fraser Crane voice because this feels like therapy.
We're listening. And it's like I would wake up and, you know, when I was like 7 or 8 years old and the room was just had like the static on and was just the blue light. And it was just, there was something about the quiet rooms, which is funny, that used to really scare me.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can appreciate that this movie captured what it feels like to be terrified as a kid. It felt like a nightmare. It felt like they actually captured a nightmare, but I also totally understand, and I'm more on the side of like, it didn't work for me, but I appreciate what you did with it.
Yeah. If they did the same premise but actually showed kids.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah.
Like
you hear kids talking
It's
sometimes.
almost like they went to film a movie, locked off the camera, and then when they were done went, we forgot to point the camera at the kids. And it just, to me, it was just didn't work.
Yeah.
It was a gimmick gone wrong for me.
But the cool thing is that it's a horror movie that did fucking great, and it's making people talk.
Yeah.
Which is still cool. Even if I don't like a movie, the fact that a horror movie is doing so well makes me fucking happy.
Yeah.
Because that just
for sure
helps horror.
Yeah. And I like that may be part of the future of horror, is that people are going to continue to try and stretch those boundaries.
Totally.
And do crazier things.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that.
And it doesn't even necessarily have to be crazier in like gore. Like, let's see how far we can push it. Because I mean, Terrifier is doing that, and now we've seen how far. But yeah, just I like experimental things like The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse?
Yes.
It's crazy. The first time I saw it is another one where I was like, I don't know if I like this, but the more I thought about it,
I love him as a director, and the movie looked great, but I hated it.
I left, didn't leave the movie. I saw it at home. I was just like, I don't know what I thought about that.
To
but
me, The
it still kind of
Lighthouse
stuck
felt
with me.
like two actors on stage,
Yeah.
and that the only seats that were filled in the audience were the back two rows.
Right.
So they had to really overdo everything.
Right.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. It was a weird movie, but because it was not Ari Aster,
Eggers.
Robert Eggers, yeah. And like The Witch, I love The Witch.
Love The Witch.
Love it. But yeah, this was such a, like the aspect ratio was like so weird,
Yeah.
and it was so weird. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm having a good time while I'm watching this, but it made me feel like uncomfortable and weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool then, because not a lot of movies will even do that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I get
so, yeah, I don't know. It's like, I think Stephen King said something about horror where he's like, even if it's bad, it's still pretty good. Like, he still is like, even if I don't love this movie, I'm still having fun watching it. Or,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, I kind of feel like that a bit.
Yep.
It affected me, and I still haven't decided if I like it. The performances were great because they were so crazy, and those
Yeah.
guys are good actors. Yeah, it was just a weird new, not addition or genre to horror, but just like, and that's another
A
one
new
I think
experiment.
experiment.
Yeah.
That's another one where I think people are like, well, it was more like, it wasn't horror. And it's like, that was pretty, it was, I don't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
I take that back. I don't know.
It didn't do it for me. Like I said, it just felt like really overdone community theater.
Right.
It was just too over the top for
Mm-hmm.
me. I don't like when you can feel the artisticness.
Right.
Like it's almost like they're forcing the artisticness.
That's what I felt about Mandy when I first saw it.
Yeah, that's what I thought about Mandy. Too.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't like it that much.
Yeah. Like a 4-minute one shot of Nicolas Cage screaming and drinking vodka in the bathroom in his tidy whities.
Yeah.
And
Like I remember another darling of horror fans everywhere is that film Martyrs, the French film.
I still haven't seen it.
Which,
I've read all about it.
Jay and I watched years ago, and neither one of us cared for it. The story's brilliant.
It's a neat story.
Yeah, the story's very cool, but it got to this point. There's this one scene of torturing this girl.
Yeah.
And they torture her, then they leave, and then the camera just stays on her, and then later they come down, torture her again, then they leave, then they come down, torture her again, then they leave. And it just got to the point where we were like, is the rest of the movie just this scene over and over again? Like, we were like,
I think you fast forwarded 45 minutes of torture.
yeah,
Wow.
like it was
See,
crazy.
it's like I have no interest in seeing that personally. Like,
I'm okay with it if it serves a purpose, but it didn't. I didn't
Right.
think in Martyrs.
It was
It-
45
to me, it was.
minutes of go upstairs.
They
come back
could have-
downstairs, punch you in the face. Go upstairs.
They
come
could have
downstairs.
showed that 10 minutes
And gotten
as
the
like a
point.
time lapse thing, and it would have been just as effective.
Right.
And it took forever, and we were bored out of our skulls, and we were just like, "This is so repetitive." And yet, horror people love Martyrs. Like,
I know. It's
love.
almost become a thing of like, oh, if you didn't like it, you're not a horror fan
Yeah,
kind
that's-
of thing.
But
There's
then the remake came out.
Yeah. Then the American remake came out, which all horror fans hated because they love Martyrs. And They were
Right.
like, "Stupid Americanized version of it," and Jay and I both loved it.
oh, crazy.
Because it corrected all the things that we hated.
Yeah, because it took
Okay.
out the ridiculous repetitiveness, and it was just about the story.
and made you care about the lead character.
Yeah.
They spent enough time.
Yeah,
You
I
gave
thought
a
it
shit.
was much better done. I really enjoyed it.
Agreed.
This
there you
moment of the Real Ramblers brought to you by ASMR.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I wasn't joking.
come on now.
Sorry. I just really wanted to open that, but I didn't want it to be distracting, so I made a joke of it.
Yeah, you couldn't have waited 5 more minutes.
I'm thirsty.
I've been drinking water this whole time, and
Me too,
nobody's
actually.
known. No, you haven't.
Classic. Son of a bitch.
Hello, folks.
When I was a kid, I'm going to tell the story real quick.
Yeah,
when I was
tell
like
the story.
a
Go ahead.
little kid, I'd have like a crazy dream or whatever.
Enjoy this story, folks.
I'm a very active dreamer. And
I was a bastard kid.
I would be like, I don't know, I have a dream I was a fucking Ninja Turtle or something. I was a Ninja Turtle, not fucking a Ninja Turtle. But if I would,
Come on.
Raphael. Anyway, and I'd be like, go to Bill, and I'd be like, I had a dream I was a Ninja Turtle. He's like, no, you didn't. And I'd be like, no, I had a dream. He's like, people, you can't dream that. People don't dream that. You didn't do it. And I was just like,
I was such a dick. I'm sure in future episodes, folks, that we're going to go into more detail about how much of a jerk I was.
No. That's
we can.
No.
I mean, Lee made like a Lego plane and showed me, very proud, and I threw it out a window on the 3rd floor to see if it could fly.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah, I did.
I think it was.
At least I acknowledge now
Block that out.
that it was jerk behavior, but that's all right. But I also loved him very much, folks, and I was very protective of him, and we had a lot of good times.
We had a lot of
well.
good times.
Oh my God, look at the time.
There was a time in kindergarten a kid stole my Hulk toy and you went looking for that guy.
Don't remember that.
Yeah, I had an Incredible Hulk toy.
Congratulate him?
She'd be like, thanks for grabbing that Hulk toy for me.
Don't be copying my style, kid.
Yeah, I was putting on my boots as kindergarten. I still remember and had an Incredible Hulk toy in between my boots as I was putting them on. In the hallway, kids were leaving, and I just saw a hand come in and go yoink and pull the fucking toy away. And I looked up, and I didn't know who it was, and I was crying. And you were walking me home, and you were trying to figure out who did it.
Wow.
Yeah, never found him
See,
again.
I was a good guy.
Never found him again.
Took Lee to a lot of movies. We'll talk about that another day, but there was that great day we went to see Lost Boys.
Yep.
And you were young.
I know. I was. I mean, Lost Boys was probably rated like AA. That's what it was back then. I don't know what they call it now.
Yeah.
But like adult accompaniment,
It's
like
14A now.
14A. Okay, yeah. So, well, I mean, Lost Boys came out when 88, 87,
Yeah, 87, 88.
87. So I was born in 76. So I was 11.
Yeah.
Math. Yeah. So you went to take me to Lost Boys, and it was not playing anymore.
And we got there and it was done. It wasn't
Yeah.
playing anymore. And what was playing instead was
Mississippi Burning.
Mississippi Burning. So I'm like, well, let's go
to
see
this.
Mississippi Burning.
And I was fucking mad as shit because I wanted to see vampires.
Yeah, he was
I don't
really
know what
mad.
this movie was. I don't care about it. I remember specifically sitting in the seat going, I'm just going to go to sleep because I'm so mad. Fucking frown. And then as the movie played, I was like, holy fuck, this is a really, even at 11, I'm like, this is a very fantastic film.
Yeah, and we walked out of it and he was like, that was really good. And I'm like, he's 11 and appreciated Mississippi Burning. Ladies and gentlemen, that's who my co-host Lee is. He was an 11-year-old that appreciated Mississippi Burning. That says a lot about a person.
I also admitted last episode I watched Hubie Halloween. I thought it was okay.
Unfortunately, Lee has not evolved.
I've devolved.
Yeah, he's devolved. But
I like the one where he played a girl
maybe
and
they
a
should
boy.
remake Mississippi Burning, but with Adam Sandler.
Oh my God.
That would be, do some Adam Sandler.
Mississippi doo-doo. That's what it's called. Do you see what's burning? It's the Mississippi.
I don't even know what you said.
No, nobody knows.
Oh my
'cause
God.
It's Sandler talk, unless he's doing like a really awesome drama film. He knocks it out of the park with those, and then all of a sudden it's like flippity-doo.
And
Anyway.
that, ladies and gentlemen, is why horror is popular.
Shit.
Yeah,
Really,
we went off the tracks a little there, folks.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Hey, it's gonna happen.
Whatever we can do to keep you amused. That's what we're all about here at Real Ramblers.
Yes.
Anyway, folks, keep watching those horror movies. Let's keep horror popular and support the genre. We'll have another episode in the future about this, but I just want to say to the horror fans, you got to start supporting horror on TV as much as you support movies.
Yep.
Because there's been some damn fine horror on TV.
Yeah.
We will do more on this in the future, but there's a show. There's a show on Paramount. No. Anyway, Evil. Which is just going into its 4th season, and literally it's one of my favorite shows of all time. The humor in it, the horror in it, it's unbelievable. The Exorcist series was phenomenal.
Oh, so good. Hannibal, for the love of God.
Come on.
Yeah.
And shows like The Exorcist.
Fuller House.
Sorry. The Exorcist, after the first season, didn't get enough viewers and they were going to cancel it. And Warner Brothers was like, we believe in this show. And even though it's not making money, we're going to put money into a second season because we believe in it. And horror fans still didn't watch it. And then it ended. And it's a shame because it was a top tier show.
Yeah.
And people should have watched it. But we'll have a longer discussion about that later.
Yeah.
But thanks for tuning in. Keep watching those movies, everybody. And Lee, sign us out.
A Real Ramblers, dippity-doo.
See you next time, folks.
Thanks for coming in, Adam Sandler.
Thanks for listening to The Real Ramblers. Follow us on Instagram at Real Ramblers. That's REEL Ramblers. And you can follow Lee at Lee Howard _art and Bill at JustTheBill1138.